The haves and the have-nots proves that Tyler Perry should stick to TV. I remember when the show premiered back in 2003. I think that's when it premiered. But anyways, I saw the first episode and I just stayed with the show ever since then. And I was just really intrigued. Like, this is probably one of the best soap opera shows I've ever watched. And the writing on the show, I think, works for Tyler Perry because it gives him a chance to develop the story and develop his characters. Since it's a show, and rather than a movie where he tries to cram in everything. And, shit. I'm sorry. I'm looking on my notes and I'm just trying to make sure I get everything I wanted to talk about. So, but the characters on the show are there's a diverse amount of characters on the show that you just want to stay with them and see where they go next. And ever since these past couple of seasons, like the twists and turns they take and what Tyler Perry does with the character is just amazing. I'd say this is probably one of the best things Tyler Perry has ever done. Like, most of his shows in general are better than his movies. And I think that's where Tyler Perry finds his stride at. But I'm telling you, if you're on the fence with Tyler Perry, I'm telling you, just watch this show and you will like it. And as long as Tyler Perry, he keeps writing this mojo, I think he's on his way to good and better stuff. And I think as long as he keeps working with great directors like David Fincher, like he did in last year's Gone Girl, one of my favorite films of last year and probably of all time, as long as he keeps sticking around directors like David Fincher and Ben Affleck and starts taking notes from them, I think he'll be alright. Undateable is a show that I did not know existed up until this year, because I did watch the show Good Luck Charlie, which is starring Bridget Mendler, and she's now on the show Undateable, and I heard that she's going to be part of the show, and so I wanted to see what she does on this show. And then the first couple of episodes I watched with her on it, and just the show in general, I was like, this show is really funny. And Christy Elia, I'd say this is a good comeback for him after that god-awful show Whitney. Like, I was really surprised with how funny that this show is, and I'd say this is probably the next Friends or How I Met Your Mother of the new generation. If you haven't watched Undateable, trust me, watch this show. You will find good laughter within the show. And this was like they say this is one of the first sitcoms that did a live show, and they're saying for the next season it's going to be nothing but live shows, and that's going to be real fun. We can all agree that Finding Carter is not the best when it comes to their shows. Especially like MTV, it was called music television for a reason. It was all about their music. But now they're all about pregnant teenagers and catfish or whatever. But every now and then, I guess MTV, they have that one gem of a show that's actually good. Like, I know one of my friends from school, he likes the show Faking, and I've seen a couple episodes. It's pretty good. But the show that I wanted to talk about from MTV was Finding Carter. This show is currently on right now, so this show is going to go on until, like, the beginning of summer or midsummer or whatever. But I remember I watched the show last year because it also has Vanessa Morgan, another Disney darling. She was on that show, My Babysitter's a Vampire. Then I find out she's on this show, and so I was like, okay, I'll check her out on this show. And then I've watched the show, and I was like, this is a pretty good premise. So the premise of this show is you have this girl named Carter. She was abducted when she was a young child, and then she finds her real parents all these years later, and she finds out the person she thought was a mother is the person who kidnapped her, and you see her trying to adapt to her new life and everything. And I'm telling you, now, the first season was pretty good, and then season 2, that first episode of the first season 2, that shit was tense. And I'm telling you, and for what I've seen with the episodes they have in season 2 right now, they took... It's like this season 2 is pretty much the aftermath of season 1, and how does everyone cope with what they find out in that first how does everyone cope with what they find out in season 1, and how do they they reveal something in the first episode of season 2, and so pretty much all of season 2 is about how does everyone cope with it, and all the characters within the show currently are dealing with it in different ways, and it affected them in different ways. And I just like the show a lot. Like, this is one of the few shows from MTV that's actually pretty good. and I'm gonna stick with the show to see what they do with the characters and how long they're gonna ride this out. But I'm telling you, if you're on the fence with MTV shows, I'm telling you, just watch this show. It's a good scripted show. And I'm telling you, if you may like the show, if you don't like it, I understand. So, Empire is one of those shows that I think we can all agree when we saw the trailers. We was like, what is this buffoonery, black, stereotypical BS they're feeding us now? And anyone with a brain, myself included, thought that show was destined to fail. But after the first couple of episodes, I was like, no, I love Empire. I really do. I like that. I really like that show. Like this, like the characters on the character. I'm not gonna go into the premise. Like this is one of the shows. Like I think you should just watch with fresh eyes. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but the characters on the show alone just were intriguing. Like it was just something about the show that just kept me coming back every week and wanting to see what they do with the characters next and how they deal with what either happens in this episode or what they did with some of the previous episodes. But I'm telling you, if you're on the fence with the show, just trust me, just watch this show. You might be really impressed with it. Like I know this show broke a lot of records. I'm sorry, just looking at my notes again real quick. And after the season finale, I just can't wait to see what they do with the characters next in season 2. And like this is probably another one of those shows that I'm gonna have to do a full review on so I can go into depth about what I liked about the show. But I will definitely say this show, Empire, it is the MVP of the year right now. Next up, you got The Game. Now, I'm sorry, but this show, The Game, it just declined. Like seriously, this is like somewhere between the first and the second season under BET. The show just declined. Now, I enjoyed the very first seasons of the game, the very first 3 seasons of The Game that were under the CW, but then the show got canceled, everyone was very upset with that, and then they started playing reruns on BET, and then everybody and their mom who was watching that show, that BET picked it up and revived it. Now, the first, maybe second season under BET was real good, but ever since then, the show just declined for me, and it's like characters started leaving, like Kelly, they left the show, I don't know whether or not it's because this was my theory at first. Like, it was under BET. It was like, no, we can't have any white characters on this show. And then I was like, but then, of course, the actress that plays Kelly, reviewed a couple of years later, she left the show because she was diagnosed with cancer. So I was like, okay, I understand. You got cancer, so you need a couple of years to yourself to nurse yourself back to health. Understandable. But then they took away more of the core characters like Melody and Derwin. And it's not that they wrote them off, it's just they left the show because they wanted to pursue other things. Like, okay, Tia Mori, go do your mom show on Nickelodeon. Fine, be that way. And I don't know what the guy that plays Duran is doing right now. But even when those characters are gone, they replace them with characters that I really couldn't give 2 shits about. Like Blue and Kiara, whatever her name is, Lauren London's character. I love her. I love her, but the character, like they just like with those characters, they really should have just said The Game, the no one gives a shit edition, because they have subplots and stuff that you really don't care nothing about. And with the characters that are still on the show, they bring up old problems that should have been resolved seasons ago or were already resolved, but then they bring it back up in old relationships and stuff. Like, I don't know. It's like, I don't know, but luckily the season that they're about to air, which is the second half of the current season, they say it is the final season. So, hey, that's why I'm still sticking with the show, so I can write it on and see how it all ends. And this was just a suggestion from AfterBuzz TV, and maybe it'll happen. I don't know, but you got to bring Melody and Duran back from for the last season, because it's The Game. That was their baby. Oh, and just before I forget, and who they bring back to. And who is Kelly's replacement for damn, I forgot his name, but Kelly's husband on the show, who they bring in as her replacement, and at least until she was brought back on the show, Chardonnay, who is played by Brandy. Now, I'll admit, she was one of my, for as cartoony and crazy as her character was on the show, she actually is one of my favorite characters. But so she gets married to Kelly Pitt's husband, and then they ended up getting divorced or whatever. So it's like, I don't know. Anyways, I'm done talking about this game. Let's just see how this last season plays out. Scandal, I started watching the show on Netflix late last year, and I love Scandal. I'm sorry, this is another one of those shows that I absolutely love. And of course, I love Kerry Washington. She's my #1 fantasy celebrity wife. But Kerry Washington, she plays Olivia Pope. She is this fixer that takes controversial situations and she ultimately fixes them so that they don't turn out as bad as they turn out to be. Now, that's what the trailers and previews and stuff sell you, but what you don't know is that she has an affair with the President of the United States, and ultimately they're in love with each other. Like, again, this is another this is another show that I'm going to have to do a full review on to give my thoughts and opinions about the show. And after all, the show just got done with 4 seasons, and I do plan on doing like a seasons 1 through 4 review on them, just a quick review of them. But I'm telling you, if people say this show was pretty soap opera-ish with a couple of politics in it, but I'm telling you, like, it may seem like that, but trust me, if you watch this show and you will, somewhere between season 2 and season 3, the show will hook you. And among Olivia Pope being an intriguing character on the show, you also got other characters. Like, you got Huck. Like, he's part of this, he was part of this rogue, secret government organization called B613. And, like I said, I gotta do a full review on this video. Like the characters on the show alone. Like, you got all types of characters that just makes the show what it is. How to Get Away with Murder is another show by Shonda Rhimes. Shonda Rhimes, she is the creator of Scandal, and she also made How to Get Away with Murder. Now, I also love this show as well. Like, this is one of the smartest shows I have seen in a long, long time. Like, I just love how non-linear this show is because ultimately there is one murder that goes throughout this whole show. And what the show is about, you got Viola Davis. She teaches this class that wants to be lawyers. But then a murder happens, and they all learn through all the teachings that Viola Davis gives them on how to deal with this murder. But another show that I probably got to do a full review on. But like I'm telling you, this show is really smart. Trust me. If watch this show, if you don't watch Scandal, then watch How to Get Away with Murder. You will love this show. And when I said the show is non-linear, I mean non-linear as in the show opens up with a piece of info about the main murder, and then it goes back to a couple months before it, and it deals with something that's part of the murder, but it also deals with something that happened within the episode, and how it all ties together. It's really, really smart. Just go watch How to Get Away with Murder. Trust me, it's worth the time. And lastly, Girl Meets World. I'll go something else here real quick. Now, I am a fan of Boy Meets World. So when I heard that they were making a spin-off, I was like, really? But then I was like, still intrigued because, it's been like a little over 10 years since we've seen these Boy Meets World characters. And plus, it was also cool to see Danielle Fishel on screen again because Danielle Fishel, she's my first TV crush. But Girl Meets World, it is about Corey and Topanga. They've been married for over 10 years. They have a 13-year-old daughter who started middle school, and Corey, he took on the Mr. Feeney role and he is her teacher. And pretty much the show Girl Meets World is pretty much Boy Meets World, but with Corey's daughter. Now, I'm really digging this show. Like, honestly, like there are a bunch of Boy Meets World cameos and Easter eggs within the show that just makes me go. But yeah, like you see Sean, Corey's parents, and Corey's even little brother. Because remember, Corey had an infant little brother during the last 2 seasons of Boy Meets World, and then he grew up, and now he's like 16 or something, and he's about to go to college. But it was just real cool revisiting characters and meeting new characters and seeing those 2 worlds come together. But honestly, really, my only gripe with this show is just something that the show itself can't escape, and it's the fact that it's on Disney Channel, and so they can't touch on any serious topics like Boy Meets World did, because Boy Meets World, it was part of ABC's TGIF lineup, and so they were able to to tackle serious topics like sex and drugs or abandonment or whatever, and try that shit on Disney Channel, you know Disney Channel is not going to let that fly. So I guess that's really my only gripe with the show. But other than that, I'd say this is a pretty good, solid spin-off with Boy Meets World, and it's good for the new generation. And for what it is, since it's on Disney Channel, I'd say it's pretty good. It's never gonna replace Boy Meets World, but Girl Meets World, I'd say it's doing its job right now. And like I said, seeing Daniel Fisher on the TV screen again brings joy to my heart. I have a couple of dishonorable mentions, meaning 2 shows that got canceled. Like you got the show Selfie, and that show got canceled, and I was like, I guess that was the right call, because I watched a couple episodes. The first couple was fine, but then like the show was just eh. But then you also got the show A to Z. I actually liked that show, and I thought the plot and premise of that show was pretty cool. And I mainly watched it because Kristen Milotti, who played the mother on How I Met Your Mother, she's on that show, and I thought the show, it could have lasted a couple seasons, maybe a full first season, but it is what it is. And lastly, there are a couple of shows that I wanted to watch but didn't watch because either A, I need to catch them on Netflix so I can watch it from the very beginning, or B, because I have a list of movies and shows that I need to watch that I just cannot find the time to watch them. And those shows are Arrow, The Flash, The Walking Dead, and Daredevil. Now, I am making an effort to see the shows. Like, I'm definitely trying to find some time so I can watch Daredevil. Like, I have a laundry list of movies I need to watch. Once, like, all that's out of the way, I'm going to watch Daredevil. And if I'm lucky, I may do a review of that show before Ant-Man comes out. And that's it for all the shows that I watched during the year or primetime season or whatever. I'll probably do another one at the end of the summer. Like, I'll probably just do another one of these talking about all the shows that I watched during the summer. And then I'll probably do another one at the end of the year or so. I don't know. But, yeah, and of course, like I said, there are a couple of shows that I may do a full review on. Like, I might do one on Empire before season 2 starts. I may do one on Scandal. I'm kind of thinking about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., maybe. I don't know. But yeah, just be on the lookout for those. I'll let you know on if just follow me on Twitter and Instagram or whatever. I'll let you know. And that's pretty much it with all the shows that I watched during the year. That's it for the day. Like what you see, subscribe to this channel, subscribe to my other channel. The links are in the description below. And be sure to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram. Peace.